You filed for divorce? Here? In front of everyone?
Your own words were public. Now they're official.
What kind of man files for divorce in the middle of a family brunch, with both sides of the family watching? Why did one drunk sentence, me calling him a burden because he was against open relationships, matter more than all the cute photos and my rock captions I posted for years? When the server dropped that thick envelope beside my plate, I finally saw that his quiet was not weakness, it was preparation. Before we dive deeper into the story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. I'm Evadne, and everyone keeps saying this is all my fault. They say I broke a good man, I ruined a family, I cared more about attention than my own husband. Maybe that sounds harsh to you, but people online love simple stories. Good guy, bad girl. Victim, villain. Real life is not that clean. When you read the title, you probably already picked a side. I called him a burden because he was against open relationships, and he filed for divorce. It sounds cold when you say it that way. It makes him look like the calm hero and me like some crazy monster. But I want to tell you what it was really like inside our home, inside my head. I was the one changing, growing, meeting new people, learning new ideas about love and freedom. He wanted things to stay the same forever. I kept trying to pull him forward with me, but he just stood there like a weight tied to my ankle. Maybe I went too far. Maybe. But I'm not the only reason this marriage failed, no matter what those legal papers say. You should at least hear my side before you judge me. I woke up that Monday already annoyed at Caleb. He was still asleep beside me, on his back, hands folded on his chest like he was posing for a photo. The alarm on his phone buzzed at 6:30. He reached over me to turn it off and muttered that he had a busy day. I said I did too. I said my life was not just about the house and the kid anymore. He frowned a little, like that was an insult to him. In the kitchen, he stood in front of the open fridge, staring at the same few things we always had. Milk, eggs, some sad fruit. I told him we needed to try that new vegan place near my office. He asked if there was something wrong with what we had. I said there was something wrong with living like we were 50. He looked at me for a long second, then went back to the eggs. Nora padded in with her hair sticking up, still half asleep. She asked if Daddy was taking her to school. He said yes in this warm voice that he never used with me anymore. I watched them and felt this strange mix of jealousy and boredom. I told myself it was because I was the one doing all the emotional work, even if that was not really true. That is the story I hold in my head. After he took Nora to school, I had the apartment to myself. I made coffee and scrolled through my phone. My Explore page was full of posts about open relationships, poly couples, living in shared houses, smiling, talking about communication and freedom. I liked several of them. I saved one video where a woman said that monogamy was a tool of control. It made a lot of sense to me. It still does. At work, I sat in my small cubicle under the bright white light. The hum of computers and cheap laughter from the sales team made my head hurt. Between support calls, I chatted with my coworker, Ange. She asked how things were with Caleb. I said things were fine, just a little slow, a little stuck. I said I was reading and watching things about open relationships. She asked if Caleb was into that. I told her he was not yet, but he would be. When my phone buzzed, I saw a message from Maya. She sent a link to a podcast about non-monogamy. She wrote that it sounded exactly like me. I told her I would listen after work. I told her I was thinking a lot about it. She replied that I had changed so much, that I was too bright for a small life with one man who did not even understand me. I smiled at my screen. It felt nice to be seen like that. On the train home, I watched the podcast video. The host asked a couple how they managed jealousy. The woman said that jealousy was fear and ownership. She said real love was like air. You cannot own air, you just breathe it. I thought about Caleb and how tight he held on to things. Not just money or objects, but plans, routines, the idea of us. I told myself his love was heavy. I told myself that was unfair, but I pushed that thought away. That night, after Nora went to bed, Caleb and I sat on the couch. The TV played some show about people dating many partners. It was one of those glossy reality shows. I could tell he did not like it, but he stayed there because I had asked him to watch with me. I thought that was cute and sad at the same time. When the show showed a man talking about his 3 partners, Caleb shifted and reached for the remote. He asked if we could watch something else. I said we were already watching this, and I wanted to see how it ended. He said he did not see the point. He said he did not understand relationships like that. I told him he did not have to understand everything to watch it. The man on the screen said he loved all his partners differently but deeply, that it was honest, not cheating. I pointed at the TV and told Caleb this was interesting. I said maybe some people were built for more than one person. He turned to me and asked if I was one of those people. I laughed and said I did not know yet. I said I was growing. He looked hurt. He asked if he was not enough for me. I told him that was not what I meant. I said he always made everything about him. I said I just wanted to talk, to explore ideas. He said ideas had weight when you were married. He said talking about new partners was not innocent. I told him he was overreacting and acting like some jealous teenager who had never had a girlfriend before me. That was cruel, and I knew it, but it slipped out so easily. He went quiet. I hate when he does that. I would honestly prefer a shout, a slammed door, something. Silence makes me feel like I am talking to a wall. I said he was being dramatic. I said it was 2025, and people were not dying in one marriage anymore. He asked if I wanted to leave. I told him no, of course not. I told him I just wanted us to be modern. He did not answer. Later, when he went to brush his teeth, I opened Instagram. I posted a story of my legs up on the coffee table, the TV in the background with that poly couple hugging. I added text about monogamy being a cage if you were growing, and how some people prefer to be dead weight. I did not write his name, but his shoes were right there on the floor in the shot. I saw it and left the picture anyway. I told myself it was just a tiny joke. Maya replied fast. She sent laughing emojis and wrote that if he did not want to grow, he should not have married me. Ange sent a fire emoji and asked if things were changing. I replied that I hoped so. I sent a winking face. It felt exciting, like I was on the edge of something big. When Caleb came back from the bathroom, he sat down and took his phone. I saw his eyes flick to my story. His grip on the phone tightened. He asked if that post was about him. I told him he was being paranoid. I said I had many people in my life who fit that description. I said if he felt attacked, maybe he should ask himself why. He looked like he wanted to say more, but he just turned the TV off and went to bed. The next day, I met Maya for coffee near my office. We sat at a small table by the window. She wore big headphones around her neck and talked loudly, like always. She asked what Caleb had said about the show and the story. I told her he had acted like a sad puppy and then gone silent. She rolled her eyes and said he sounded like a burden for real. She said I should not let one man hold back my whole expansion. I liked that word, expansion. It made my restlessness feel noble, not selfish. I told her I had started talking to some people online about open relationships. It was only group chat stuff. We shared memes and thoughts, nothing physical. Maya said that was the first step. She told me I should get on podcasts and talk about my journey. She said people love messy honesty. I said I was not messy. I said I was brave. On Thursday, Ange asked if I wanted to go out. She knew a rooftop bar where her cousin worked. She said there would be a DJ and good drinks. I hesitated because we had movie night planned with Nora. But then I remembered that sometimes Caleb said I never did anything for myself. I told myself I deserved one fun evening. I told Caleb that Ange had a birthday drink and I needed to go for a little while. He asked why he had not heard about a birthday before. I said he never listened when I talked about work. He asked what time I would be home. I said not too late. He asked if I could be home by 11 because he had an early meeting. I told him he was not my father. I told him I would try. His face fell again. He said to enjoy myself and that he would do movie night alone with Nora. That should have made me sad, but it mostly made me feel guilty and irritated at the same time. I hate when I feel both. The rooftop bar was loud and warm, with strings of lights and drinks with silly names. I stood at the edge with Ange, looking at the city. For a moment I forgot about dishes, school emails, bills. It felt like I had stepped into a different life. Ange's cousin came over with drinks on a tray and introduced his friend Luca. Luca was the DJ for the night. Luca was all smiles and easy energy. He asked about our names, our jobs, our lives. I told him I worked in customer support, but that I was actually on a journey to open my mind about love. That sounded so dramatic, but he laughed in this soft way and said that sounded advanced. He asked if I was in an open relationship. I said not yet. I said my husband was not there yet. He raised an eyebrow and asked if my husband was very traditional. I said he was stuck. I said he thought love meant control. That was not true, but it was close enough to my story. Luca said he used to be like that, but then he woke up one day and realized love should not feel like a chain. He said once you see that, you cannot unsee it. It all felt rehearsed, now that I think about it. In that moment, it felt like he was reading my heart. Ange leaned in and asked about Caleb. She asked if he knew I was here. I said yes, of course. I was not hiding anything. I said we were just in different phases. I said some people lead and some people follow. I said I was done walking slow. Lucas smiled and said that leaders get lonely, but also get free. I could feel Ange watching my face, enjoying the tension. We took a group selfie near the bar rail. Ange put it on her story and wrote that she was out with her favorite chaos. I could see Lucas' hand near my waist in the photo. It was not touching me, but it felt close. I did not share that one, but I did send it privately to Maya. She wrote back that I looked alive. She asked where my deadweight husband was. I told her he was at home watching cartoons with Nora. She wrote that it sounded perfect. I got to have fun and he still played dad. She called it efficient. Later, when the music got louder, Luca asked about my ring. He tapped it lightly with his finger and asked if it was a symbol of love or of fear. I laughed and said it was cheap and old. I said it was more habit than anything. He said habits can kill people quicker than lies. I filed that line away. It was the kind of thing you can use later, online or in a fight. Around 11:30, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Caleb. He asked if I was safe. He said he hoped I was having a good time. He said Nora had fallen asleep during the movie. The way he wrote it, calm and kind, made me feel this flash of anger. I read it as guilt and control mixed together. I told Ange that he was checking up on me because he was insecure. She said of course he was. She said he should be happy someone like me was coming home to him at all. I replied to him that I was fine and busy. I did not answer his suggestion about the time. I stayed until after midnight. When I finally called a car, Luca asked where I lived. I told him the neighborhood. He said it was not far from his place. He offered to share a ride. I said no. I said I did not want to make things complicated. That made him smile even more. In the car, I leaned my head back and watched the city lights slip by. My phone buzzed again. Caleb asked if I was on my way home. I replied yes. I did not tell him I had stayed that late. I told myself it was not a lie. It was just delayed information. I looked at Luca's contact on my phone from where Ange had shared the group chat later that night, a chat they called Ethical Chaos, with a few people talking about non-monogamy. It felt like a secret door. When I walked into the apartment, it was quiet. The lights in the living room were off, but the hallway light near the bedrooms was on, low and soft. Caleb was sitting at the table with his laptop open, notebook spread out. He looked tired. He asked if I had a good time. I said yes, and I made it sound like a test. I watched his face, waiting for signs of jealousy. He just nodded and said he was glad. I asked if Nora was okay. He said she had fallen asleep early and that she had drawn a picture of the three of us. He had put it on the fridge. I went to look. It showed 3 stick figures holding hands. I noticed my figure had a bigger smile than the others. I told myself that meant I was the fun parent. I ignored the fact that she had drawn Caleb in the center. As I walked past him to go to the bedroom, my phone buzzed with a new notification. It lit up on the table for a second. Caleb's eyes went to it naturally. The preview showed the name of the group chat, Ethical Chaos, Polytalk. There was a new message from Luca saying he was glad to have met me. Caleb's face changed in a very small way. His jaw tightened, and the area around his eyes went hard. He did not say anything. He just closed his laptop a little and asked if I needed anything. I said no. I said I was fine. I asked why he looked so serious. He said he was just tired. I told him he was always tired. I made it sound like a crime. I said it was hard to feel attracted to someone who always acted like the world was heavy. He did not answer that either. In bed, I lay awake for a long time, scrolling through the group chat. People sent long messages about compersion and fluid love. Luca wrote that being with one person forever sounded like a slow death to him. I typed that I understood. I wrote that my partner was struggling, that he was kind but closed. People replied that I was brave for listening to my own needs. Someone wrote that some partners are just stepping stones to the real life you deserve. I stared at Caleb's sleeping shape next to me. He lay on his side, his back turned, his breathing slow and deep. I told myself he was lucky I was even trying to include him in my growth instead of just secretly cheating. In my mind, I was the honest one. When my eyes finally closed, I did not dream about our wedding, or Nora, or anything from our small apartment. I dreamed about the rooftop lights and loud music and strangers' hands in the air. I woke up feeling more restless than before, but I called that feeling freedom. The weekend after the rooftop bar, I counted how many people watched my story. It was more than usual. Some were old classmates I had not spoken to in years. A few sent little reactions, fire emojis, laughing faces. It made me feel important, like I was saying something big and brave about life, not just complaining about my marriage. Caleb was in the kitchen making pancakes with Nora. She sat on a chair by the counter, swinging her legs and helping him stir. She told him that I had gone dancing on the roof. He asked her if she missed me at movie night. She said yes in this quiet, simple way that made my chest tight. I told myself that it meant I was fun and he was not. I did not let myself think about the fact that she noticed I was gone. He asked me if I was tired, if I wanted coffee. I said I was fine. I said I needed to get ready because we were going out later. He asked where we were going. I reminded him it was my birthday weekend, and we had the dinner with both families booked. He blinked, then said of course that he had not forgotten. I knew he had, a little. I used that as more proof that he did not see me. In the afternoon, while Nora played on the living room floor, I sat half-turned toward the window, scrolling through posts about open marriages done right. There was a clip of a woman talking about how monogamy used to keep women locked in boring houses. She said an open relationship was a way to stay married but still feel alive. I liked it and saved the sound. I thought it would be perfect for a little video later. Caleb sat at the table with his laptop and a small notebook. His face looked serious, but not angry, just focused. He was always like that with numbers and lists. He tapped a pen on the table. I asked what he was doing. He said he was looking over their finances. He said costs were going up, and he wanted to be sure we were fine. I rolled my eyes and told him he was always worried. I said life was more than bills. He answered that someone had to watch the bills, or there would be no life. I joked that maybe if he relaxed and stopped acting like an old man, I would not need to look at other people for fun. It was a small sentence, half a joke, but his shoulders tensed. He stared at me for a second, and then went back to his spreadsheet. I could see little boxes and numbers in rows, but I did not care to read them. I told myself that money was his thing, feelings were mine. Nora brought me a drawing of the three of us at a restaurant. She said she was excited for cake. She had drawn my hair very long and full. Caleb's figure was smaller and neater. I laughed and told myself, even in her drawing, I was the star. I kissed her head and thought about what outfit would look best in photos that night. Maya came over to help me get ready, like we were teenagers again. She arrived with a small bag of makeup and a big plastic cup of iced coffee. She talked the whole time she worked on my eyes, telling me about a new relationship trends episode she had recorded for her podcast. She said she wanted me to come on as a guest soon and talk about my journey with a traditional partner. She made it sound like I was climbing a mountain while dragging Caleb behind me. I told her about the rooftop bar, about Luca, about the group chat. I did not leave out that his hand had been near my waist, that he had called my ring a habit. Maya made a low sound and said that he sounded like someone who understood where I was going. She asked if I felt guilty. I said no. I said I had not cheated. I was just talking and learning. She said that if Caleb could not handle even that, he did not deserve me. When I walked out of the bedroom in my dress, Caleb looked up from tying Nora's shoes. His face softened for a moment. He told me I looked nice. I heard the word nice like it was small and flat. I wanted stunning, unreal, something big. I forced a smile and said he looked like himself. He had on the same shirt he wore to every family event. I told myself he had stopped trying. That thought helped me feel less bad about all the ways I had stopped trying too. The family restaurant was crowded and loud. We had a long table near the back, under a big fake plant. My mother was already there, talking to my aunt. They waved when they saw us. Caleb's mother, Elaine, sat on the other side, straight-backed, hands folded on her lap. She stood up when we came over and hugged Nora tight. She hugged me too, polite but stiff. I pretended not to feel it. Maya filmed little clips from the minute we walked in. She showed the candles on the table, the glasses, the menu. She turned the camera to me and asked how it felt to be another year older and wiser about love. I said it felt like I was finally understanding what I wanted, and I made sure my eyes looked bright and sure. Caleb sat down at the far end of the table and talked softly with his brother, David. As plates arrived, the table noise grew thicker. My mother asked if work was still boring. I said it was stable, which meant boring, and everyone laughed. Elaine asked how Nora liked school. Caleb answered that she was doing well, that she liked art and numbers. I cut in and said she liked dancing too, like me. Maya added that she came from a long line of women who could not be pinned down. The older family members laughed, half confused, half amused. At some point, Maya leaned over and whispered that this would be the perfect time to make a little birthday speech for my story. She said she would film. She told me this was my chance to show I was not scared, that I was honest about my needs. The word chance echoed in my chest. I was not thinking about Caleb's face or Nora's ears, not really. I was thinking about my phone screen and the numbers of people who might watch. I stood up and tapped my glass with a fork, like people do at weddings. Few heads turned, then more. Maya already had her camera up, pointed at me. I saw the little red recording dot. My heart beat faster. It felt like stage lights had come on. I said I wanted to thank everyone for coming, and for loving me even when I changed my hair, my job ideas, my opinions, my whole life. I said I had always been someone who could not stay small. A couple of cousins cheered. My mother shouted that I had never been small a day in my life. I liked that line and laughed. Then I did the thing I had already half decided to do. I turned toward Caleb. He looked up from his plate. The whole table followed my movement. I said that the last year had been hard, but also full of growth. I said that some of us grow fast, and some of us act like weights. I used the word burden without planning it. It slipped out, but fit the space too well. I said that it was hard to grow when your partner was a burden who did not believe in modern love. The table went very quiet for a second, then Maya laughed loudly. My mother clapped, thinking it was a bold joke. A cousin whistled. Someone shouted that men needed to keep up. The sound rushed back. Caleb's face changed in a way I had not seen before. It did not crumple. It did not get red with anger. It just went still, like he had put on a mask. His jaw tightened. His eyes went flat. Nora, sitting near him, looked from him to me, confused. She asked him if he was okay. He told her he was fine, told her to keep eating her fries. I laughed and said I was kidding, that my husband was a good man, just a traditional one who did not believe in open relationships yet. I said he did not understand that love could have many forms. Some people at the table made ooh noises. Maya turned the camera toward Caleb, waiting for him to say something dramatic. He only said that he did not see the point of sharing his wife with the world. His voice was calm, but it cut through the noise. I waved a hand and told everyone he was joking. I said he was just shy and slow with new ideas. I told them not to worry, that I was dragging him into the future. People laughed again, relieved. Elaine did not laugh. She stared at me like she did not know who I was. David looked at his brother with concern. Mark, our friend, shifted in his chair and focused on his drink. I sat back down, full of bright, shaky energy. Maya showed me the video she had taken, whispering that it would go viral. I watched myself on the screen, the way I tilted my head, the way I said the word burden like it was light and funny. Even on that small view, it looked harsh. For a second, I felt a small tug of doubt. Then I pushed it away and told myself the camera made everything look bigger than it was. When the cake came, everyone sang. Caleb held Nora on his lap and helped her hold the sparkler. His face, in the light, looked tired, but soft when he looked at her. When he looked at me, the softness faded. I told myself that was because he was scared of change. I told myself I was giving him a chance to evolve, and he was wasting it. After dinner, people spilled out onto the sidewalk in front of the restaurant. The street lights and the restaurant sign made little pools of light. Maya had already posted a short clip of my speech to her close friends list. She showed me the early comments. People were writing that I was a queen, that I was brave to say what many women felt. One person wrote that if my partner did not get on board, I should leave him. I liked that one. Elaine came up to me while others were hugging goodbye. She asked if everything was all right between me and Caleb. Her voice was polite but tense. I said of course. I said we were just talking about modern ideas, that we liked to joke. She said it had not sounded like a joke. She said it had sounded like I did not respect him. I said, respect follows results. And I had results. I had a job, friends, chances, a changing mind. I asked what results Caleb had besides a paycheck. Her face hardened. She said that for some people, keeping vows was a result. Then she walked away to help Nora with her jacket. When it was just me and Caleb near our car, the quiet felt heavy. He asked why I had called him a burden in front of everyone. I said I had been joking. I said he needed to learn to laugh at himself. He said there was a difference between a private joke and public disrespect, that I had crossed it. I said that was such a dramatic word, disrespect. I said he was making too big a deal out of one sentence. He asked if I even cared that Nora had heard me. He said she had asked him in a small voice if he was a burden. Hearing that should have cut me, but I felt cornered instead. I said children did not understand grown-up jokes, and that it was his job to explain, not mine. I said if he had a problem, he should have pulled me aside quietly instead of sulking. He answered that he was talking to me quietly now, and I was still laughing. In the car, Nora hummed softly to herself in the back seat. She clutched a little balloon the waiter had given her, tapping it against the window. I stared at my reflection in the glass and fixed a strand of hair. Caleb drove in silence. I thought about posting more from the dinner, but decided to wait until morning when more people would see it. Even my cruelty had a schedule. At home, we put Nora to bed. She asked if we could all sleep together in the big bed. Caleb told her, maybe another night, that she needed to sleep in her own room so she would be rested. She pouted but nodded and hugged him. She looked at me, waiting. I kissed her and told her I was busy tonight, that I had work to do. The word work sounded more serious than scrolling on my phone, so I used it. When we were alone in the kitchen, Caleb leaned on the counter and asked again if I thought he was a burden. His voice was quiet and flat. I said I thought he was stuck. I said that was worse. I told him I felt like I was dragging a dead weight whenever I tried to grow. He asked why I had married him then. I said I had been young and did not know better, that I had outgrown the version of myself who wanted one man and one little apartment. His jaw clenched so hard I thought it might crack. He said he did not want to trap me. He said if I wanted to leave, I could. He said what he could not do was share his wife with strangers. He said that was not the life he had promised to build. I spun that around fast. I told him he was controlling and selfish. I said he was making my needs sound dirty. I accused him of trying to scare me into staying small by bringing up leaving. I said I just wanted to talk about different models of love, and he was threatening me with divorce. He looked stunned. He said he had not said the word divorce. He said he had only said I could leave if I wanted something else. I said it was the same thing. I said he knew it. I pushed the blame back on him so quickly that even I believed my own version for a moment. I have always been good at that. He went to the table and opened his laptop again. The glow lit his face. He opened what looked like the same spreadsheet from before. I saw our names, numbers, dates, little color blocks. I told him he was petty, going to hide money because I had hurt his feelings. He said he was not hiding anything. He said he was making sure he understood what belonged to whom in case changes came. The word belonged made me bristle. I said I was not a number on a sheet. He closed the laptop halfway and said he needed to know his position. He said he needed to understand his rights and options. He said he could not just sit and let things happen around him while I turned our life into content. I laughed and told him he was not in a movie, that he did not need options. I said if he wanted to feel strong, he should just say no and mean it, not hide behind screens and forms. He looked at me with this strange mix of sadness and something else, maybe resolve. He said he was saying no. He said he had said no many times. He said I just did not respect his no. He added that he could not force me to stop, but he could decide what he would live with. I shrugged and said I did not know what that meant. I pretended I did not feel a little cold in my stomach. In our bedroom, I took off my dress and wiped off my makeup slowly in front of the mirror. I watched my own face return to its usual state, less polished but still mine. I thought about the way Caleb had looked at me at the table when I said, burden. Not angry, just done. I told myself he was weak, that real men fought. I told myself his calm was the same as giving up. I checked my phone again. Maya had sent the full video of my speech. She had written that people were already asking to share it. Ange had commented that I was dragging him in public and that she loved it. A part of me worried that Caleb might see it if it spread. Another part of me liked that idea. I wanted him to see what I could do with my voice, how many people would stand by me. Before I went to sleep, I posted a short clip to my own story. I cut it so that it focused on my lines about growing and not shrinking for anyone. I left in the moment where I used the word burden, but the camera did not show Caleb's face. It just showed me smiling, eyes bright, glass in hand. I wrote a caption about being done carrying people who refused to move. When the story went up, I watched the first few views appear. A coworker, a girl from high school. Luca. His username lit up on the scene list. A second later, a message from him arrived. He wrote that I seemed powerful, that he liked the way I spoke. He wrote that he was sorry my partner did not understand my need for open air. I smiled in the dark, phone glowing, Caleb breathing steady beside me. I told myself this was confirmation. I told myself the world could see I was right, and if Caleb could not, that was his choice. Somewhere under all that noise, a small thought tried to speak, that calling someone a burden in front of their child and both families was not brave, it was cruel. I turned the volume down on that thought and opened Luca's message again, letting his praise wash over it until it went quiet. The next morning, my phone was the first thing I touched. Caleb's side of the bed was already empty. I heard the soft clink of dishes from the kitchen and Nora's light voice. I did not get up. I lay there and watched the numbers on my story climb. Views, reactions, new follows. A couple of accounts I did not know sent me messages calling me strong, saying I was speaking for all women who felt dragged down. I saw one comment from an account with no profile picture that said I was cruel. They wrote that calling a partner a burden was abuse, not honesty. I rolled my eyes and blocked them. I told myself people who hid behind blank photos had boring lives and small minds. I preferred the messages that praised me. When I finally walked into the kitchen, Caleb was making toast. Nora sat at the table with her cereal, humming, legs swinging. She smiled at me and asked if I had had good dreams. I said I had slept fine. I did not mention that my dreams were mostly bright screens and loud laughs, not her or him. Caleb asked what time I had to be at work. I said not until 9. He suggested we could talk for a minute after he took Nora to school. The way he said it was neutral, almost too neutral. I felt my shoulders tense. I said I had a busy morning and a team call, and that I did not have time for another feelings talk. He said it would not take long. He kept his eyes on the toast. On the train, I watched the video again. I saw myself from Maya's angle this time, the whole table, the candles, the way Caleb looked down when I said the word burden. My stomach twisted, but I called it nerves, not regret. Maya had posted a longer version on her story. She had added text about women demanding more than half-hearted love. At work, Ange rushed to my desk as soon as I logged in. She said everyone in her group chat was sharing my clip, that people thought it was savage and iconic. I liked those words. She asked how Caleb had taken it. I told her he had been quiet and moody. I said he was acting like I had betrayed him. She asked if he knew I was talking to people about open relationships. I said yes, in a way. I said he knew enough. Between customer calls, I checked my notifications. Maya messaged me that a small relationship page had asked if they could repost my video. She said I should let them, that this was my message growing. I wrote back that they could share it. I did not ask what kind of page it was. I was hungry for reach, not context. At lunch, Ange and I sat in the break room. She scrolled on her phone and told me that some comments under the repost called Caleb a victim. One person wrote that they felt sorry for him, that I sounded like I was bragging about emotional abuse. Ange snorted and said, "People love to defend men." She said they were just jealous I had the courage to say what they only thought. I took her word and used it to cover the small ache those comments left. After work, I stopped by a coffee shop to meet Maya. She had brought her little recording mic and laptop. She said she wanted to record a quick episode while the story was still hot. She set the mic on the table between our cups. The place was busy, but the hum of other people's lives made me feel safe, like our talk was just one more sound in the crowd. She asked me to tell the story of the dinner again, from my side. I explained how I felt like I was growing, how Caleb was stuck, how I needed to be honest about that. I told her I used the word burden because the weight felt real. I said I was tired of lying and pretending everything was fine. Maya nodded and made little encouraging noises. She asked if Caleb was against open relationships or against my happiness. That was an easy path. I walked right down it. I said he used tradition as a mask for control. I said he was fine with me having a job and friends as long as I did not change too much, as long as I stayed in a shape he knew. I said when I tried to talk about different ways to love, he went silent and used money or guilt. I stretched some facts, left others out. It sounded clean and sharp in my own mouth. There were people at the next table, 2 young women in work clothes with their own laptops. One of them glanced over as I spoke. I saw her expression shift between interest and doubt. For a second, I wondered how it sounded from the outside. Then Maya asked another question, and I focused on performing for the mic again. She asked if I had someone else in mind. I pretended to think. I said I had friends who understood me better, people who did not flinch at the word poly. I mentioned Luca's first name, not his full one. I said some men knew that love could grow instead of shrink. The words felt smooth, even though my chest felt tight. The episode ran maybe half an hour. Maya said she would edit it quickly and put it up under a title about burdens and modern marriage. She seemed excited. She said this might be her most listened show yet. I tried to match her energy. I smiled and said it would be good for both of us. I pushed away the image of Caleb's face if he ever heard it. When I got home, the apartment smelled like something warm and simple. Caleb had cooked pasta with tomato sauce. Nora sat on the floor, building a tower of blocks. She looked up and asked if I had been on the radio. I stared at her. She said Grandma had called and said she heard my sister talking about me on some app. I froze for a moment. Caleb watched me closely, spoon in hand. He asked if I had gone on Maya's podcast again. I said yes, in a light voice, as if it were nothing. He asked what I had said about him. I told him he always assumed everything was about him. I said we had talked about general topics, about women needing space, about modern love. He did not say anything for a few seconds. Then he said he would like to listen. I felt heat rise in my neck. I told him he could listen if he wanted, that I had nothing to hide. I said honesty was my whole point. Inside, I hoped he would hear only some parts, maybe get bored and stop. I knew that once words were out in the world, you could not pull them back. But I also knew I could always twist them later, call them jokes or metaphors. After dinner, while Caleb did the dishes, I sat with Nora on the couch. She leaned against me, sleepy. She asked if I was still angry at Daddy. I asked why she thought that. She said she had heard me say he was heavy. I stared at the TV for a moment, watching the shapes move without seeing. I told her I had only been joking, that grown-ups use strange words sometimes. I said Daddy was not heavy, he was just slow sometimes. She accepted it because she had to. I tucked Nora into bed early. When I came back out, the apartment felt different, calmer, but not in a good way. Caleb sat at the table with his headphones on, looking at his phone. His face was expressionless, but his hand tapped lightly on the wood. I realized he was listening to the podcast. My stomach dropped, then climbed back up as anger to protect me. When he finished, he took off the headphones and set the phone down. He asked if that was really how I saw him. He asked if I truly believed he used money and mood to trap me. I sighed and said he was taking things too literally. I said podcasts had to be dramatic or no one listened. I told him I had only exaggerated for effect. He pointed out that I had used our real dinner, our real fights, our real child. I shrugged and said that was my life, and I was allowed to talk about my life. He said my life was also his life and Nora's life. He said I was dragging them both into a public mess they had not agreed to. I told him that if he had behaved better, there would be nothing to drag. I said if he had been open to change, I would not need to talk to anyone else. I turned every sentence back onto him, as if he had forced the mic into my hand. He did not yell. He did not throw the phone or smash it on the floor like some men might. He simply stood up, went to the small shelf where we kept some notebooks, and took one down. He wrote something on the inside cover, then scribbled a few lines on the first page. I asked what he was doing. He said he was making a record. He said he needed to remember dates and words, not just feelings. The word record made me uneasy. I asked if he planned to show it to people, to play the victim. He answered that he was done playing anything. He said he had let me paint him as the villain for long enough. He said he needed facts now, for himself, for the future. I laughed and told him he was acting like some client about to sue a company. I said this was not a customer support ticket, this was a marriage. He closed the notebook and put it on the shelf again, but now it had a sticky note on the front. The note said something simple like dates. The bright colour made it visible from across the room. Every time I passed that shelf later, my eyes caught it without meaning to. A few days later, Maya's podcast episode went up. She had given it a loud title about burdens and open love. People shared it quickly. Some loved it, some hated it. One evening, I sat on the apartment balcony with my phone while Caleb bathed Nora. The sky was a washed-out orange. I scrolled through comments. I saw people calling me a hero, a narcissist, a truth-teller, a monster. It was strange how the same words could scare and flatter me. Elaine called me that night. Her number popped up on my screen while I was still reading comments. I almost did not answer. I knew she did not call just to chat. I picked up anyway. She asked me if I had really gone online to call her son a burden. Her voice was tight and quiet, the way people sound when they are trying not to cry in public. I told her she had misunderstood. I said the word burden was about the weight of old ideas, not about Caleb as a person. She said that was not how it sounded. She said I had made him look weak and cruel to strangers. She said he worked hard, loved his child, paid the bills, tried to keep peace. She asked what more I wanted from him. I told her I wanted growth. I said I wanted him to evolve with me. She said evolution did not mean sleeping with other people. I told her she was stuck in old ways, just like him. She went quiet. Then she said that if I did not want to be married to her son, I should leave him cleanly instead of bleeding him out in public. The phrase bleeding him out annoyed me. I said I had not left, that I was fighting to change the marriage, not end it. She replied that some kinds of fighting were worse than leaving. Then she said she was there for Caleb and Nora, and she hoped I was thinking about what this would do to the child. I ended the call, saying I was tired. That weekend, Caleb asked if we could take Nora to the park. I did not feel like it. I wanted to stay home, scroll, maybe message Luca, but Nora heard the word park and lit up. She got her shoes before I could make an excuse. So we went. The playground was crowded. Children ran in loops. Parents sat on benches with coffee. Caleb pushed Nora on the swing while I sat on a nearby bench, half watching, half scrolling. My phone vibrated with a notification that the podcast was now on a larger page. My name was not in the title, but my face was in the thumbnail. I smiled in a small, proud way. After a while, I looked up and saw Caleb's brother, David, walking toward us. He must have met Caleb here on purpose. I could tell by the way they greeted each other. They did not hug, but they shook hands and stood close. I could not hear all their words over the playground noise, but I caught phrases when the wind shifted. David asked Caleb if he was all right. Caleb said he was managing. David asked if he had watched the video and listened to the episode. Caleb nodded. He said he had saved links and screenshots. He said he was writing things down in order. The way he said in order made me think of his notebook and the spreadsheet. David suggested that he talk to someone professional. He said he had a friend who had gone through a rough separation and that getting advice early had helped him. He did not say lawyer, but the word hung there anyway. Caleb said he was thinking about it. He said he did not want to blow things up, but he needed to be ready in case I did. I sat a few feet away, pretending to scroll, every muscle listening. Nora ran over and asked her uncle to push her too. She took both their hands, happy to be the bridge. David lifted her onto the higher swing and told her to hold on tight. Caleb's eyes met mine across the sand. For a second, I could not read them at all. That scared me more than anger would have. On the way home, I asked Caleb if he had enjoyed his talk. He said it was good to have someone to listen. I asked if they had spent the whole time complaining about me. He said no. He said they had talked about facts, plans, responsibilities. I said he loved that word responsibilities. I called it his favorite shield. He said someone had to think about them, since I was busy thinking about my brand. The word brand made my cheeks burn. I told him he was small-minded, that he did not understand what I was building. I said I was finally speaking and people were listening. I said I could maybe turn this into something real, a platform, a job, a way to earn that did not involve answering support tickets all day. He asked if my platform needed him to be the villain. I said every story needed tension. I did not say no. That night I caught him at the dining table again, but the objects around him had changed. Next to the laptop, there was a small stack of envelopes, labeled with simple words like rent, school, savings, in his neat blocky handwriting. He had pulled up our online bank accounts on the screen. I could see that some automatic payments had been shifted, reorganized. Everything was still paid, but in more direct lines from his personal account. I accused him of cutting me off. He said he was not cutting me off, he was clearing paths. He said it was not wise for one person to have no idea what money went where. He said if, at some point, we were not together, we both needed to know what was ours. The words, if we were not together, hit me like cold water. I laughed too loud and told him to stop acting like I had filed something already. He replied that words could be documents too, when they were recorded and shared. He reached into the drawer and pulled out his phone charger. When he slid the drawer back, I heard a soft click, different from usual. It sounded like a new lock or catch. I asked what that was. He said he had added a small lock to keep Nora from playing with the scissors inside. I did not believe that was the only reason. I sensed other things in that drawer now, things he did not want me to see. Later, as I lay in bed, I scrolled back through my own posts from the last months. There I was, in filtered pictures, smiling at brunch, holding drinks, sitting on the balcony. In many of them, Caleb was blurred in the background, doing something practical. Cooking, tying Nora's shoe, carrying groceries. I had made him the wallpaper of my life without even noticing, and now I was calling that background a burden. Luca sent another message that night. He had listened to the podcast. He wrote that my words hit hard, that he recognized the feeling of being tied to someone else's fear. He invited me to a small after-hours event at the rooftop bar, just for open-minded people, as he put it. He said there would be good music and safe conversations. That phrase, safe conversations, made me laugh. It sounded innocent, but it was not. I stared at the invitation for a long time. I knew that going would push things further. I also knew that not going might make me feel like I was betraying myself. That was the lie I had built, that anything I did for desire was honest, and anything I did for caution was betrayal. Caleb came into the bedroom with his phone in his hand. He plugged it in on his side. The screen lit up for a moment. I saw several notification icons, including the tiny symbol of a recording app. I asked what he had been recording. He said he had recorded some of his own thoughts, that speaking them aloud helped him make sense of things. I asked if he meant he was recording me, ready to play me back to myself like some caught criminal. He said he was not doing that. He said he was recording himself, the way I recorded myself on podcasts. His tone was calm, but I heard a quiet challenge in it. I told him he was copying me. I said he was trying to make himself interesting by turning into a content creator. He said not everything had to be content. He said some things were just for clarity. He put the phone face down on the nightstand, screen dark. I turned my back to him and opened the group chat. People were sharing screenshots of angry comments, laughing at the haters. Someone said I should do a full episode alone, telling my whole story. Part of me thrilled at the idea. Part of me remembered Elaine's voice and Nora's question. I chose the thrill and replied with a smiling emoji. As sleep came, slow and heavy, I thought about records and notebooks and quiet clicks of drawers. I told myself Caleb could gather all the facts he wanted, that facts meant nothing without a story to hold them. I thought I could always stay ahead of him because my voice was louder. I did not understand yet that he was not trying to be louder. He was trying to be exact. Caleb said the therapist's office was near his work, so we met there after dropping Nora at school. The waiting room smelled like lemon cleaner and old magazines. A little water fountain made a soft trickling sound. I thought it was fake calm. Couples sat in 2 chairs, not touching. I told myself at least we were still early enough to fix things, if he would just listen. The therapist was a woman in her 40s, with soft clothes and calm eyes. She asked how long we had been married, how old Nora was, the usual warm-up. Then she asked why we were there. Caleb looked at me. I said we were there because he could not handle change. I said I needed room to grow and he refused to move. She asked Caleb what he thought. He took out his notebook. That annoyed me immediately. He said we were there because I had started talking publicly about opening our relationship and about him being a burden without his consent. He said I had formed an emotional connection with another man and then called that just ideas. I told her that was not fair. I said nothing with Luca was serious, that it was flirting and conversation. I said Caleb was treating talking like cheating. I said he was using old rules to judge new models. The therapist asked if I had told Caleb about every late night and every message. Caleb slid his phone across to her with the screen open. There were screenshots of texts I had sent Luca, jokes about hotel carpets, lines about feeling more alive with him than at home. My throat went hot. I said reading my messages like that was violating my privacy. I said he was spying on me. Caleb said he had looked once when my phone lit up, and then I stopped hiding anything because I did not think he would act. He said my own podcast and public posts gave him most of what he knew. The therapist did not raise her voice. She asked me if I could see how calling my husband a burden on the internet might damage trust. I said people liked raw honesty. I said I was helping others by showing real conflict. I said Caleb could have joined me and told his side, but instead he chose silence. She asked if I had his consent to make our life content. I hated that word coming from her mouth, the way Caleb had used it. Caleb said he had asked me to stop many times, and I had gone bigger instead. He mentioned the dinner, the podcast, the group chat title. He spoke slowly, like he was reading from a list in his mind. I felt trapped between them. I started crying, which I hate. I told them they were both ganging up on me, that nobody understood how suffocating it felt to live with someone who saw my changes as threats. On the way out, she gave us some exercise about communicating needs. Caleb put the paper neatly into a folder with household written on the tab. I noticed a recurring event on his phone calendar when he checked the time, meeting, personal, blocked every Thursday morning. I asked what that was. He said it was time he had set aside for himself. The answer was too smooth. That night, I went to the rooftop bar again. I told Caleb it was a work social. He asked if it was with the same people as last time. I said yes, like that was proof I was safe. I told him I did not want to feel interrogated every time I left the house. He said he just wanted to know the truth. I said truth was a big word for someone who never shared his feelings until a stranger charged by the hour. Luca met me near the bar rail with 2 drinks already in hand. The city air was cool against my legs. He asked how therapy went. I told him the therapist had treated me like the problem. I said Caleb was using screenshots like weapons. Luca shook his head and said, insecure people always gather receipts instead of doing the work. He said I was doing the work by looking at my desires. I repeated that line in my head like it was a blessing. We went to the back room where the music was less loud. He leaned close to hear me and I let him. I told him Caleb called what we had an affair. Lucas said labels were cages. He said the real betrayal was me betraying myself if I stayed. Part of me knew he did not know our life, our child, our history. But his words fit the story I had built, so I let them in. When I got home, the apartment was clean and quiet. The faint smell of toner hung in the air from the small printer in the corner. A single page lay in the output tray, blank, except for a tiny test line near the top. Caleb must have printed something and taken it already. The blank sheet felt like an almost ghost. He was in the hallway, plugging in his phone. I saw that recording app icon again, and a little cloud symbol that said, "File uploaded successfully," before the screen went dark. I joked that he seemed very secret lately. He said he was just making sure important things were backed up. I said we could back up our marriage if he would stop punishing me with distance. He replied that he was not punishing me. He said he was protecting himself. The next afternoon, Maya sent me a link with a string of exclamation marks. Someone had clipped a part of her podcast and put it on TikTok. The caption said, "She calls her husband a burden for wanting monogamy." My face filled the screen while my voice talked about being dragged down. The comments were brutal. Some called me honest. Many called me selfish, disgusting, abusive. I screenshotted a few and sent them to Maya, writing that people were insane. She replied that hate meant engagement. She told me not to worry. She said I was winning, but my chest felt tight as I watched the view count jump. When Caleb came home, he sat on the couch and opened his phone. I pretended to watch TV, but I saw the reflection of the TikTok on his glasses. He watched the clip once, then again with the sound lower. His face did not move. After a moment, he tapped the screen. A tiny icon appeared. Saved. He put the phone down on the table, screen still on, then turned it face down very gently. I said he must feel proud, with the whole world feeling sorry for him. He looked at me and said it was the first time he had felt seen in months. He said he was done trying to fix the story with me. He said his job now was to make sure reality was written down somewhere it mattered. The night of the game night, Caleb stood at the sink rinsing plates while I put on lipstick in the reflection of the microwave. Nora was at Elaine's for a sleepover, so it was just us. He asked what time we needed to be at the community hall. I said 7. I said a lot of people were coming, friends and family. I said it would be a good chance to show everyone we were working things out. He dried his hands and checked his phone. I saw the shared calendar on the screen for a second. There was a block on Saturday morning that said, "Brunch, families." I asked what that was. He said it was something he had arranged so both sides could talk calmly. He said it was important that everyone understood what was happening from the source, not from clips. I told him tonight was already enough. I said I planned to talk about our progress with open relationships. His shoulders stiffened. He said he had not agreed to any open relationship. He said he had been clear. I told him that if he loved me and wanted to keep the family together, he would not embarrass me in front of our friends. I said silence was better than another one of his lectures. At the community hall, the lights were bright and flat. Folding tables lined the walls with bowls of chips and sad dip. People played card games and drank from plastic cups. Maya waved us over, camera already in her hand. She asked if we were ready for our big announcement. I laughed and said yes, even though Caleb's jaw tightened. When enough people were there, I tapped a spoon against a glass again. The little ringing sound cut through the music. Heads turned. I felt that same rush I had at the restaurant, like I was stepping onto a stage. I said we had an update about our marriage. I said we had been through some storms and had come out more honest. I said we had decided to explore ethical non-monogamy together. There were cheers from a few people, mostly Maya's friends. Tessa smiled weakly. Mark stared at the floor. I reached for Caleb's arm and squeezed, like he was supposed to nod on cue. He did not. He cleared his throat instead and said he needed to correct something. His voice was calm, almost soft, but the room quieted anyway. He said he had not agreed to an open marriage. He said he had been clear that he wanted a monogamous partnership. He said that what I did outside that agreement was my decision, but he would not pretend he had signed off. I laughed too loud and told everyone he was joking, that he was shy and still learning. I said he was my favorite burden, slowly catching up. No one laughed that time. I could feel eyes sliding between us. Maya kept filming, but her smile had gone tight. Elaine stepped in from the doorway, having just arrived with David and Nora for a quick visit before taking her home. She looked like she had walked into the wrong room. Elaine went straight to Nora's side and put a hand on her shoulder. Someone asked if we were separating. I jumped in and said no, of course not, that we were just experimenting with new models. Caleb said quietly that we were not aligned, and that he was taking time to think about what he could live with. He said he would not argue about it in front of everyone. He sounded tired, but not broken. That scared me more than if he had shouted. Later, back in our kitchen, the house felt hollow. The clock on the oven glowed blue. I slammed the cupboard a little harder than I needed to. I told him he had humiliated me, that he had made me look like a liar. He said he had simply told the truth. He said he would not let his silence be used as consent anymore. I said he was threatening me. I said he was trying to scare me into going back to a boring, small marriage. He shook his head and opened the folder on the counter labeled Household. Inside, I saw neat stacks of papers and a printed list of dates. He did not show them to me. He just checked something off with a pen. He said he was done threatening anything. He said from now on, he would handle things properly, through the right channels, and that he would make sure Nora was okay. The way he said properly made my skin prickle, like a door had closed behind me that I had not even seen before. The brunch place was too bright. Big windows, pale wood tables, plants hanging from the ceiling. It looked like somewhere people took happy family photos. Maya had her phone ready the minute we walked in. Janelle waved, already halfway through a mimosa. Elaine sat straight, hands on Nora's shoulders. David watched the door like he was waiting for something. Caleb pulled out my chair, which was strange, then sat across from me instead of beside me. I told myself he wanted a better angle for pictures. Maya asked if we were excited to share our progress. I laughed and said yes. I said we were working through things, and that some people online did not get it, but we did. My voice felt too loud. I started talking before the food came. I told them therapy was interesting, that Caleb had been processing his insecurity. I said we were closer to finding a model that fit us. I reached for his hand, planning to show everyone that we were united. He kept his on his lap. Then a shadow fell over the table. A woman in a plain blazer asked for my name. I said yes, confused. She placed a thick envelope in front of my plate and said it was for me, that I had been served. Just like that. Then she walked away. My heart thudded. Everyone stared at the envelope. Maya held her phone a little higher. I told them it was probably some boring work thing. My fingers shook as I opened it. The first page said, Petition for Dissolution of Marriage. My name. His name. Attached pages with little tabs. Exhibit A, Exhibit B. Screenshots of my messages with Luca. Bank statements with late-night charges, transcripts of my podcast, and the clip where I called him a burden. A proposed parenting plan for Nora, with coloured blocks for days. I looked up at Caleb. He met my eyes, steady. He said he was asking for joint custody, clear finances, and no more public talk about his private life. He said my own words were enough. He did not have to invent anything. Janelle started saying something about overreacting. Elaine put an arm around Nora and pulled her close. I told him we could talk about this at home, that this was not the place. He said this was exactly the place, because he wanted witnesses and calm. He said from this point on, he would speak to me through his lawyer, and any talk about Nora would follow the schedule in the papers. I opened my mouth to argue, to say he was making me the villain. He just nodded at the envelope between us, like that was the only story that counted now.